Ben Siegrist, welcome to the Bondi podcast, mate.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Anytime, mate. First question, what actually brings you to Bondi?
Who brings me to Bondi? My wife's from here. So I met my wife at. I say met my wife. I mean, it's a very known story. We matched online. I was actually standing at Icebergs when we matched. When I was here with the trip, and we hit it off. And then 3 years later, we're married. Got married 2 weeks ago, and I try to spend as much time as I can with her. Obviously, during the season, it's not always easy doing this long distance thing. And I love Bondi. I love the community here, and the beaches and the weather are normally not too bad. So
you met her when you were over with Celtic at the end of 2022?
Yeah, just when the World Cup was moved to November, December. Yeah, that's it. And I hit it off straight away and kind of said, like, look, if you have any spare time, I'm in rainy Glasgow. And she said, well, actually, I used to live there because she used to be a doctor and a nurse at the Royal.
In Glasgow?
In Glasgow and in Edinburgh, yeah. And we actually lived 500 meters apart. So where I lived and where she used to live is like 500 meters apart. Kind of said, look, if you have nothing to do, why don't you come and see me, as a joke, knowing like, why would you leave Bondi, in the middle of summer?
To go to Glasgow.
Yeah, to go to Glasgow.
In the middle of winter.
And she said, all right, I've got 5 weeks and see how it goes. And initially came for 3 weeks, and then things were going well, and she stayed the full 5 weeks, and here we are now.
Wow, mate. How do you guys manage the long distance?
Yeah, it's difficult, and I think it's not for everyone. Obviously, we have 2 different careers, and we want to do as well as we can in our sort of career. So her with the radio and podcast, and me with my football. It's very hard to sort of manage the different times because you really only speak to each other in the morning and in the night, respectfully. But it sort of works. You just get on with your day. You're not really sort of interrupted during your day. You just do your thing, and then when you wake up or at the end of the day, you look forward to chatting to your partner and telling them the stories of what's been happening and all that kind of stuff. So it's like I said, it's not for everyone, but for us it works. But ultimately, the end goal is obviously to live together and make it work that way. But the sort of 2 career paths haven't quite aligned yet for it to be happening.
Yeah, but it probably does actually work quite nicely, as you said. You're 2 very driven people, completely separate industries and fields.
Yeah.
But if you know that you're going to be speaking to each other in the morning and in the evening, it means that during the day, for both of you can just focus in on that thing that you're really trying to nail, right?
100%. And I think as well that's how it was from the beginning. So it's not like we lived together for 2 years and then we sort of do long distance. So it's the parameters were set from the beginning. So we knew what we were getting into. We're at an age where you know what you want in your relationship. You know what you maybe don't want. I always say in life, it's also important to know what you don't want. And we just try and make it work. And there's a lot of trust, a lot of understanding and compromising, and she's the one that probably does more traveling because of her scheduling and the radio breaks and podcast breaks. I can't just say to my manager, hey, my wife wants to come, can you give me a week off? It doesn't really.
Could you imagine having that conversation with Neil Lennon?
With Lenny, I think it would somehow work if you played well for him. If you had like a couple of clean sheets, he will give you some leeway for sure.
Just a quick word from me, guys, and please don't skip over this. Do you want a free coffee from me? We're making some really good progress on Spotify and YouTube. I've set myself a goal of having 1,000 followers on Spotify and 1,000 subscribers on YouTube by the end of 2025. So here's what I need you to do. I need you to pause this episode right now, jump into your Spotify app, click that follow button, then jump into your YouTube app, click that subscribe button. It really, really helps with the show, and it would mean an awful lot to me. And as a thank you to everyone that does that, here's what I'm proposing. If you see me out and about in person, and you can show me on your phone that you are subscribed to the podcast on YouTube and following it on Spotify, I'll buy you a coffee. Can't say fairer than that. But here's the thing. You've got to be subscribed on YouTube and following it on Spotify to qualify for that free coffee. How does that sound? Cheers.
But yeah, she does the majority of the traveling. So that's why every European summer, Australian winter, I try to come here, and it's also nice for her to be at work all day and then come home and to somebody, and me to care for her, and then do things together, meet her friends. What is her local? Where does she go? How does she interact? What does she do during the week? And because the perception on FaceTime is different than actual real life, So, but yeah, we're making it work, and it's been going well.
Nice, mate. So you've been over to visit quite a few times then?
Yeah, so every summer, so it's the third summer now, and then I did one crazy thing where we had a full week off of football, and I flew on a Sunday and I flew back on a Saturday again, which was good, but the jet lag was heavy. Yeah. Jet lag's heavy, but it was worth it for sure. Yeah. It was worth it.
And thoughts on Bondi, mate? Could you see yourself, when the football's done, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I said this before that I would like to eventually live here. It's funny because the first time we got here, me and my mate Moritz, we walked across the harbour bridge and we sort of got lost and we didn't know where we were going. And then I just rang the family and said, "Look at the view, look at the opera house. I think I'm gonna retire here. The life's great, not knowing anything." And then 2 days later, I met Brett. So maybe it's a bit of destiny there, but I can definitely see myself living here, especially with the weather and everything. I think I've had enough grey. Yeah. from the UK. So
you've got the beach blonde hair, mate. So I think you'd fit in quite well. Ben, look, I've started this podcast about 1.5 years ago, and since I started the podcast, I've been dying to do a podcast that has some sort of connection to Scottish football.
Yeah.
Saw you were in town yesterday, shot you a message. I was like, this is my chance, right?
Yeah, sure.
This is my chance. So thank you for coming in to indulge me. Look, Scottish football is a pretty strange place, weird, lots of weird and wonderful and crazy things sort of happen. What were your initial thoughts on Scottish football when you joined Dundee United back in 2018?
Yeah, so Dundee United were in the second division at the time. Wasn't initially something I was too keen on in terms of you always trying to play in the first division, obviously at the highest level, the higher level. Ultimately, I was like, you know what? I had 7 great years at Aston Villa and then went back to Switzerland for 2 years, and I never really felt at home in Switzerland, which is weird because I am Swiss. I'm supposed to feel at home. This is meant to be home, and I just felt like the UK suits me better as a lifestyle.
So you become acclimatized to UK culture.
My mates say, "Oh, you're not Swiss, you're British." That's how you grow up, and it is true. I didn't really feel like I fitted into the dressing room because of every dressing room has your older players who played at the higher level. Then you've got your younger players who are trying to make it, and then I was sort of the intermediate of. I had a great experience of being abroad already, and you kind of know what you're looking for in a football club. And although I did enjoy myself, it was just I couldn't really connect with the project as it is. You have people at the end of their career maybe just picking up a paycheck, and then you had the young boys. They're all into their cars and spending stuff, and I was sitting in the dressing room and I'm like, I've got maybe 2 or 3 people that are maybe the same like-minded as I am, so trying to really push to progress their career, and I felt like I wasn't really at home in my own country, which is really weird. So, and I just thought, the UK or they do things in a certain way in football, and because I've grown up, I think when you're like 15 till 20, you're most impressionable, and I did all that time in England. So all the sort of outside world was all British, and that's what I was set, and that's what I felt I needed again. So I did think Scotland was probably not too far off England, and went there. First year went. It was a strange first year. We had Csaba László's the coach, who wanted me and said, "Oh, it's a goalkeeping competition." And then day before the first game, he's asked his staff like, "Who's going to play in goal this season?" And it was 7 members of staff. 6 said I should play. 1 said the other one should play, and the coach said the other one should play. And so I didn't start off the season, and then eventually he was made to leave, and new coach come in, Robbie Nielsen.
Yeah.
And he said, "You'll play even if your leg's falling off." So, and as a player, that's the confidence you want, you know, from your manager. And ended up the first year losing in the playoffs and penalties, which was hard at the time.
Were you in nets during the pens?
Yeah. I'm happy to say I didn't save any single penalties, but I think we missed the first 4, so didn't really get that far. And I was heartbroken because I was just picking up my momentum towards the end of the season in the playoffs, playing like the best I've played, confidence. You know, I really felt like if I play well, the team could win. But the physical difference between, you know, the top tier side and us, it was too much at the time. And then the second year was great. I think we were like 14 points ahead by the time COVID hit. And
this is something I want to ask you about, Ben. So you guys were declared champions and promoted from the Championship into the Scottish Premiership.
Yeah.
League was cut early due to COVID.
Yeah.
Was that a strange feeling, winning a league and getting promoted in that way?
Yeah, it was strange because, like, let's be honest, like we knew by January we were going to win the league, and we were probably like a month off, you know, a couple of wins off by winning it mathematically anyway. And then the league got cut off, and then you're like, the first information is, oh, you'll be back in 2 weeks. You know, stay here, stay fit, whatever. And then turned into a month, and then this whole mathematical thing with the votes came in, and
as a Rangers fan, don't get me started.
It was hard because the journey has been 2 years for me to get promoted, and for most of my teammates, and to take away the pictures, the trophy day, the celebrating with your family, the celebrating with your fans was hard because ultimately you achieved what you achieved, but you're celebrating in isolation. You know, that was the time when you were just only allowed out an hour a day. And me and Ian Harkes, we sort of lived across from each other and we just waved to each other on the balcony and went, yeah, we won. But it didn't feel like achieving anything, so it was hard. Because it took away the spirit of trophy day and all that kind of stuff. And then next thing you know it, you're in pre-season with masks and COVID tests, and again, manager changed again. Mickey Mellon came in.
So let's touch on that, Ben. Like I mentioned at the start, Scottish football is this very strange place that like throws up weird scenarios and weird situations. Robbie Neilson was your manager.
Yeah.
You guys have just won that championship and got promoted to the Premiership.
Yeah.
On the way down, Hearts got relegated from the Premiership and went into the Championship. But your manager, Robbie, decided to jump ship and go back to Hearts and stay in the Championship for a season. Now, we know Robbie has those ties to Hearts, but from someone who maybe came from outside of Scottish football, did you find that a bit strange?
Not really, because ultimately it's football. Like, strange things happen. I was more like, I knew what I had with Robbie. I had a manager who believed in me, and you always question yourself, oh, is the new manager
he's gonna like me?
Is he gonna like me? Is he gonna rate me? Like, is the team gonna invest in somebody else? Like, although I was secure in my performance, what I've done, you just never know. And I remember I was sitting in the car, and then there was just like a group chat, like, hey, he might be leaving, this and that. And you're just like, well, great. Like, you start again from zero, because with every new manager, you start again from zero, and you only need one pre-season for somebody who's not played the last season to be in the starting 11 again. So it's just, it doesn't surprise me, football, but it was just a bit like, I wish I would have had another year with him for comfort in a way. But then again, I always look forward to new challenges and proving myself. I was like, all right, I'm just going to show the new coach what I've done and try and continue that and trying to be better. And I had the same goalie coach, so that was a bit of a security blanket, Neil Alexander. So therefore, I was like, I know he's going to work me to the bone, and I'm gonna work as hard as I can. And when game time comes, I'm going to be ready. So as from the outside, you probably wouldn't understand him sort of dropping down, but like you said, he has the ties there, and at the time, you know, Hearts is probably a little bit of bigger club as Dundee United. I hope people don't mind me saying that, but you know, it's how it is.
But let's talk about that as well, Ben. So you mentioned it there, like Hearts might be considered slightly bigger than Dundee United, but Dundee United do have like a rich history as well. You know,
Yeah.
they've made it to European Cup
Yeah,
finals.
won the Scottish Cup
Under Jim
2010.
McLean, they had a lot of success. When you joined the club, did you know a lot about the history, or was there fan pressure there?
Yeah, the fan pressure was there because there was still a bit of sour taste when they got relegated, and the fan pressure was quite high, and you did feel it, especially the first season, the first sort of 6-7 months when you didn't win at half time or whatever. Then they will let you know, and obviously I'm the first man close to the fans, and I always enjoyed the interactions, whether they were negative and positive, because it's just a bit of banter, you know, and sometimes somebody says something and I just turn around and say something back, and then they were like, oh, I didn't expect that. And sometimes they make me laugh, you know, whatever they want to call you, and I was like, that was actually funny. And then,
do you remember any of those good
yeah,
shouts?
I remember when we were young, they called me pencil legs, and I was like,
your own fans called you pencil legs?
No, the away fans. And I was like, yeah, but we're winning, like, so I'm good, you know. And then later on, you go, you know, when you play at home against like Celtic or Rangers, they bring more fans than you have, and then you just get dogs abuse. And then it just make me laugh. It's just quite funny. Yeah. Like
in those scenarios, there's probably nowhere for you to go, because when Celtic and Rangers come to Tannadice, they're usually both sets of, like, the away fans are behind both sets of goals, so you're getting it from the first half and you're getting it in the second half as well.
I enjoyed it. I think it made it more special. And I don't think that's just Scottish football. I obviously was on loan in my earlier days at Aston Villa and like non-league teams and stuff like that. But I really enjoyed it, and ultimately, like,
if you can't handle it, you're not gonna last too long.
Sometimes you make a good save. You can hear the crowd celebrating a goal, and you just maybe stop it just before, and you just turn around. You're like, "That was good, wasn't it?" And then they have a laugh as well, you know. Or, you know, when you do make a mistake, they give you pelters. But you know, it's part of the game. Yeah. So,
did you ever? I can't remember whether you would have played it in the Championship or the Premiership, but like a Dundee derby.
Yeah. So, Championship and Premiership. Yeah.
Again, was that strange having a club? So in Dundee, for those who don't know, there's two teams. There's Dundee United and Dundee, and the stadiums are about 100 meters away from each other.
Yeah.
That must have been weird.
Yeah, they told me that back in the day you would get changed in your stadium and walk over,
and the fans would
be which we never did. We never did that. But I have, other than the last game where we drew, we were 2-0 up. Other than the last game, I always had good memories. The first win was 6-2 at home, which was, I think we were 4-1 up at half time, and we just went in the dressing room and went, what just happened? We're just 100 miles an hour, and we were favourites with them to get promoted, and we just beat them 6-2, and we're thinking, what happened there? But my favourite game was the away game when we won 2-0, because, you know, like you said, we had pre-match at our stadium, and then we did take a bus.
100 meters down the road.
Yeah, something like that. It was really weird. But we all had our cars parked at like our stadium, and then after the game, you do walk back. So after the game, we did walk back, which is always nice when you win. Yeah. But we did walk back, and it's weird, yeah. And I don't know. You see people working for Dundee United and Dundee at the same time. I don't know if I got this wrong, but a lot of familiar faces. I don't know if they swapped halfway, like in the background, like stadium security and stuff. And I'm like, you what? You know, it's very special, and the whole city is focused on those two teams.
What's the atmosphere like in a Dundee derby?
It's hostile. Yeah. It's a little bit of hate in the air. Obviously not quite as extreme as the Old Firm, but there is a bit of hate in the air. I always look forward to it. The bigger the game, the more I look forward to it, because it was ultimately we knew we had to beat them multiple times to be at the top, and they sort of could never play catch up. And it was good fun. It was good fun.
Nice, mate. Some of the Dundee derbies were some of the best games last season. So
Yeah.
I think it's good that
Yeah,
both teams are in the same league
100%.
at the minute, and you get that 3 or 4 games a
100%.
season.
Also for the fans, it just gives them, sometimes you have a Dundee United fan working with a Dundee fan, so they have a friendly rivalry. They have something to talk about all week, and one's coming in moaning, the other one's coming in happy. It's just good to see, because Dundee is not very big, but they're very, very passionate about their football team.
Beautiful, mate. So that first season back in the Scottish Premiership, it's your first taste of the top flight in Scotland. Yeah. Am I right in saying that you got Dundee United Player of the Season that first season? Bondi podcast listeners, this episode is sponsored by Chief Nutrition. Chief Nutrition specialise in healthy, nutritious snacks that cut the crap. My personal favourite is the collagen protein bar, which I have every day. And good news, Bondi podcast listeners get 10% off all Chief Nutrition products when they order online. And we've got a discount code for you right there in the show notes. So go and use that, go and check out the website and let me know what you think. Cheers.
Yeah, his season started terrible. We did those 1K runs from COVID, and my calves don't really like running.
Yeah, right.
So most of pre-season I was injured, and then we had one sort of friendly game before the season, and I played like 45 minutes in it, and it was hurting. I was like, I'm not really fit, but I was like I said, like I wanted to impress the new manager and stuff. And then the season just took it. We changed formation to like 4-4-2 to like a 3 or 5 at the back, and sometimes it turned into 7 at the back. And somehow we just got bombarded every game. And I remember it came to February, March, and I've had like 150 saves. It was like 50 more saves than any other goalie, which was great for me, which is, what I wanted to prove myself in the Premiership, because I was looking, you watch Premiership football on TV and you're like, oh, this is fast. And then you watch the Old Firm and you're like, oh, they're so much better than us. And you watch the cup games and then you're like, I wonder like how I'm going to do in the Premiership. And then it just took a weird turn that I was injured most of pre-season and then played. And then obviously I had a really good season, and then unfortunately got injured again towards the end of the season when I broke my hand, which I don't know, the story.
I saw some footage. Was it in a warm-up you broke
your hand?
It
was in the warm-up. Can't remember we played, but it was a cup game, and goal shot, and I put my hand in and I felt like a pop in my hand, and I was like, it happens, it's occupational hazard. And then I kept bending. I couldn't feel my hand really. Like the nerve was a little bit funny. And then I said, look, let me just get changed, strap my hands, and bin the warm up and just play. We'll deal with it after. And I go into the dressing room. I tried to tie my laces. I couldn't grab my laces. And then some idiot on TV had something to say.
Richard Foster.
Yeah. I had something to say about me. But it is what it is.
Yeah, he actually said something like, I hope he's actually broken his hand, because it doesn't, the footage didn't look like it was that serious. So he's like, I hope he's broke his hand.
I'm not going to show to everyone that I'm hurt, especially not to the opposition. And then I'm not gonna pretend I'm injured. I think he said something along the lines of that. I don't really fancy playing in the cup or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I do. I want to play all the games. If even the coach said, we might swap in the cup games, I'm like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to come out, because you're only one game away from being replaced, And he's obviously it was a little bit more complicated at the time. There was a couple of bones, and
fair enough.
I actually went to see a specialist who I've seen before, and we had the cup semi-final coming up against Hibs at Hampden, and I've never been to Hampden at that stage, and I was like, I really want to play. And I said, look, if I can convince the specialist that I'm fine, what's the worst that can happen? And he was like, well, you play and then you'll have the surgery, whereas now we can just heal it. It will just heal on its own. I said, okay, we'll take the chance. And then he said, I would do one last test, and it's a squeeze test. And I'm like, I have to do my left, and I'm going like 50%. And I do right, and I just don't get anywhere close to the number. And he's like, this is why you're not playing. I was like, all right, fair enough. Like, this might not be the best idea. But we tried to push for the end of the season again. So I tried to stay as fit as possible, did all the movements, trained with the outfielders for like a month, and then we obviously didn't make the final, and then we just made the decision that like it's best you just heal it and then go again next season.
But despite all those setbacks, Ben, you got player of the season. So how did that feel? Like, was that a proud moment?
Yeah, I was really proud. Especially it was voted by the boys, my teammates. Obviously, the recognition from the fans was really nice, and I think I won like every award that year. If probably the only one I didn't get, it was goal of the season. It was really nice. It was just a nice recognition from my teammates that they appreciated me for what I've done on the pitch, and obviously the fans, how I performed, and yeah, it's nice recognition, and obviously motivated me to go again and maybe win it again. But obviously knew that the following season wouldn't quite be the same because you lose some players, and we were sort of surviving. I think we ended up 8th or 9th.
Yeah, 9th.
And then the following season we ended up in Europe. So that was amazing as well.
So before we move on to that, Ben, obviously that year that you did get player of the season, that was that COVID affected season in that there were no fans in the stadium. But Rangers won the league that year, and as a Rangers fan, I'm just interested in the goalkeeper's perspective of you. I think you would have played them maybe 3 times that season. Like how they kind of ran away with the league that year. How much of a different beast were they to the other teams in the league?
They were so dynamic. Like the players they had, they were so dynamic. I remember it was Calvin Bassey. I just remember like he was defending, and the next minute he was attacking, shooting, and then he was defending again. He would just get up and down the pitch. He could do everything. He was a left back, he was a left winger, then he was a striker. He was physically so gifted and technically, obviously. And then, they hardly conceded any goals. McGregor in goal was unbelievable.
13 goals or something.
Unbelievable. And you could see like the opposition have a chance against him, and he would go mad because he knows like I want the clean sheet. As goalkeepers, we pride ourselves for clean sheets and stuff. And the whole team took that sort of run in. They just, even when they were 1-0 down, they would end up winning 2-1, and ultimately that's what champions do. And as a Celtic man, obviously that's the only reason they won is because they don't have any pressure from from the fans, which I think one of your players actually admitted. So, but yeah, it's special to play not in a good way with no fans. It just feels like a half serious training game, and you can hear all the communication and stuff like that. And it was personally a good season, but obviously I didn't enjoy it as much as because I was looking forward to the big stadiums, the big crowds, and the new stadiums 2 years in the championship. And you don't want to go to Morton, you don't want to go to Ayr away, you want to go Ibrox, you want to go Celtic Park. You want to play the big boys, and it sort of took away the sort of magic of Scottish football.
Was a bit better next year. Then, mate, so Tam Courts comes in to manage the club. You finish 4th. Qualify for Europe. You have another pretty solid season. A few big performances in there. Things seem to be going really well for you at Dundee United. Like I mentioned, you just had a really good season. You were a fan favourite. Why didn't you stay?
Why didn't I stay? I mean, I felt like I needed to move on and to progress myself. So I felt like I've sort of proved myself in Scottish football. Whether people think I have or not is indifferent. I felt like the next step would be a logical step to go to a higher standard, a higher league, a higher club, more demands. And I remember we played Celtic the second last game of the season when Celtic won the league at Tannadice. And I remember walking off and goalie coach Stevie Woods tapped me on the shoulder and says, "I've got your number, I'll call you in the morning." And I was like, not quite sure what to make of this, but I think they might be interested.
How do you feel at that moment?
Well, we were happy because we just got a draw, which meant we most likely qualified for Europe. So I was happy. And then, I was a little bit proud that you're associated with Celtic Football Club. There's only a few group of players who can put on the jersey, and we all know what a fantastic club it is and what it means to people. And where it stands in world football in terms of recognition and the ridiculous amount of trophies we've won. But then again, it was just like it's football. There are always going to be rumors. There's always going to be talks, but unless it actually happens, I'm normally quite relaxed and calm and try not to think of it too much, because we still had one game to play, and I had a good offer from Ipswich the year before during COVID, which I can say I wanted to take up. Unfortunately, Dundee United made it really hard for me to leave. Obviously, with the finances during COVID, I had 1 year left on my contract. The asking price was just too much. Even I say I'm probably not worth that much money. And it was a bit of a tricky situation to navigate it with the sporting director, because obviously as a player, you feel like, look, I've had this great season, I want to push myself. And Ipswich at the time were League One, and they had this project they did exactly what they told me they were going to do. It was a bit of a standoff, and I was like, well, look, you want to make a little bit of profit. I have 1 year left. I'm going to become a free agent, so I'm going to walk out with nothing. And as a business, from a business perspective, it doesn't really make sense. But I understand that you might not want to lose your goalkeeper. And then obviously the new manager came in, Tam, who hasn't really coached the first team at that level. And as a player, I felt like I don't have time to do another project to see how it's going. I want to push now because I've had a really good year, and then you feel like you're ready for the next thing. And it was little bit of a shame, because the club made it out to be like I'm refusing a deal and I'm not happy and all that, which was not true, because my performances show that I was happy. And I always feel like if you're not settled, then you can't perform well. And I kept performing well, and felt a little bit like the club was badmouthing me a little bit in the media. And then you know what fans are like, they turn that against you as soon as you have a little dip in form on whatever.
Oh, his head's not in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is, it couldn't be further from the truth. Like I'm my biggest critic. If I've done something wrong, like I want to get better and everything. And it was a tough year because we changed goalie coaches, and which most people don't know, for like a month and a half, I didn't have a goalie coach. And I'm like, guys, this is professional football, and I don't have a goalie coach. I have to do my own session. And then every time, you'll be here on Friday. Somebody will be here on Friday. And I actually flew in the goalie coach I had in Switzerland. So he said to me, I'm coming to watch you in Edinburgh. I said, you know what? I'll get you the kit. You're coming. And I told the coach, I said, my former goalie coach is coming. I need somebody to coach me. I need somebody to warm me up. I can't think about training during the week and then think about the second choice and then think about the third choice and think about, what do we need to do in training to be at the top of my game. I'm a player, I'm not a coach. And we did that, and then that's when they sort of realized, we have to get a coach for the goalies here. And it just was a little bit of tension in the last year. But I think the fans understood that I've done what I've done for them. I'd always tried to play to the best of my abilities, and it was time for me to move on. And I had great memories, but I think sometimes the fans don't really understand how the business side works,
So did that call from Celtic come the next day?
Yes, I remember my stepdad was with me in my apartment, and I got the number and it said Woodsy on it. I was like, I've got to take this.
Stevie Woods?
Yeah. And he was like, look, we were really impressed with you the last couple of years, and you were on our books for a little while, and let's have a conversation. And then told my agent at the time, and then obviously had this famous phone call with Ange Postecoglou.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, when he calls, you say yes. It's one of those ones where when he speaks, you just buy into it. He's a fantastic coach, fantastic motivator. I think all the players that he signed have this phone call, and all the players said, yeah, like as soon as he starts speaking, the deal's done.
So what does he say?
It just makes you believe like you can play in his system. He tells you how it is. He said, look, you're not guaranteed anything, but if you put the work in, I guarantee you will get an opportunity. And he's going to try and make you a better player. And he was obviously telling me sort of the system is probably different than anything I've ever done.
Playing with your feet a bit more.
Yeah, and the positioning and just the risky pass, which towards the outside it looked very risky, and unless you actually start training and you're like, it's not that risky, you just pass the ball to the free man. There's obviously a little bit more to it, and he was kind of said, I said, look, Joe's done brilliant. He's got the system 1 year under his belt, but he's a little bit older than you, and if he's learning the system, you can too. And he said to me, he said, look, you can go sign for another team and play another 100 games, or you can come play for me and learn something and develop yourself. And I was like, yeah, sign me up. That's me. That's what I want to do. And obviously, walking into Celtic Park, I knew what it meant to play against them. So I really wanted to experience what it's playing for them. And obviously, like I said before, I wanted to measure myself at the best level. There was Champions League football. There was every cup competition, every game you're expected to win, and that's a different kind of pressure than finishing 8th, 9th, 10th or 4th. There's an expectancy of delivering for this club, and I wanted to be part of it.
Did you speak to anyone else at Celtic other than Ange or Stevie?
I didn't know anyone. Obviously, Charlie Mulgrew was at Dundee, so I spoke to him a little bit, and he was like,
"Go,
mate, go walk to Glasgow." And yeah, it was not many people. Obviously, people thought I was going to go, but I never said anyone. And Tony Watt was in the dressing room as well, and he was like, "Benji, come on, tell me."
Do you know I was actually at Celtic Park the night he scored against Barcelona?
Really?
I couldn't write it. So
Yeah.
I just started working in the corporate world in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And we got offered these corporate tickets to Champions League game.
So just for the cameras, it's a Rangers fan going into Parkhead, just for everybody to see what's going on here.
Yeah, Rangers fan goes to Celtic Park. But my thinking was, right, so we got offered these corporate tickets for Champions League, Barcelona, Celtic. And I was like, at the time, Barcelona were the best football team in the world. I was like, yeah, I'll go along and watch the best team in the world hump Celtic in their back garden. Little did I know it would be the most one of the most famous nights in Celtic history, where like Tony Watt scores like the winning goal, beats Messi, Iniesta,
Fraser
Xavi.
Foster was unbelievable.
So I was there that night. Tony scored, mate, and you come out from the corporate area and you actually sit in the plastic seats in the stadium. And the entire stadium's like doing the Poznan.
Yes.
And I'm stood there like,
it's like
cringing, not opening my mouth, not celebrating goals going in, but just
being incognito.
Sidetrack. Hey, you mentioned Charlie Mulgrew.
Yeah.
One of the big characters in the game.
Funny,
do you have any good Charlie stories from your time at Dundee? He's a wind-up merchant, right?
Yeah. So during COVID, the drug testers come in from the USADA, and you get doping tested, right? So because it's COVID, everything's sort of indoors, so that everything gets moved, so you don't have to go to the university, because at Dundee United you train at the University of St Andrews. So we had like the bikes in the middle of the dressing room, and you've got your 2 meter distance and all that kind of stuff, and then you can always tell when they come, because everybody starts panicking for no reason. You're like, oh, I want to go home, I don't want to do this, because you could be there for hours until you can pee in a cup, basically. So we saw, and then Charlie gets chosen to do it, and we're all sitting there, and then the drug tests are not allowed to leave your sight. You're not allowed to go anywhere. If you want to go to the toilet, they have to stand there and watch you do your thing. If you want to go for lunch, they come with you. So Charlie is like, watch this, lads. So he gets naked and sits on a bike and starts riding the bike naked.
No pants, like
no
naked.
Nothing, full out. And the guy is just standing there with his mask on, and we are pissing ourselves laughing. And Charlie's like, I'm just going to do a 20-minute interval session naked before this guy, gets my sample. and we were howling. And that's just Charlie. He was always on the wind up, and he just stood there and just stared him down on the bicycle. It was brilliant, honestly. I don't know what it is with Scottish people always trying to get naked, but that's the story for another day.
Oh.
But it was just like, Charlie, you can't do that.
What did the little drug tester guy do?
He just stood there because he wasn't allowed to leave. He wasn't allowed to leave Charlie alone because, you know, you could do some, I don't know. And he just stood there with his mask, and you could tell he's actually laughing. You could tell. And we were just howling, we're just rolling on the floor laughing. And he's like, pump it up. And it's like, brilliant.
Is he doing a windmill or anything like that?
Nah, not quite. But there's always something going on in Charlie's mind.
Oh, mate, that's incredible. What a guy. What a guy. Back to the Celtic move. Were there other clubs interested? I looked online, and, you know, I think there were actually links to Rangers at one point as a potential replacement to McGregor.
Yeah.
There were links to Man United as well. I
Yeah,
saw some
so
stuff.
the Rangers one was just because McGregor was sort of coming towards the end of his tenure, and that was before he signed his extension. And then people thought it just make more sense because Celtics had just signed Joe Hart, unbelievable goalkeeper, unbelievable guy. You're not gonna go in there and push him aside. So for a lot of people towards the outside, it looked like Rangers was the obvious choice.
I was certainly thinking that, mate, from here.
So did my brother-in-law. But they weren't really interested in terms of, they're like, no, we want to send off McGregor the right way, and we're not sure, blah blah blah. And I'm always quite relaxed with transfers and stuff. It's like, whatever will come will come. I'm not gonna fuss over hypotheticals. It just takes away your mind from what's actually important. Eventually the phone call came from Celtic, and like I said, you have this phone call from Ange, and then you're like, okay, they're the champions. They play different than what I've been taught for 30 years in football. I kept wondering why our strikers are offside constantly. And then I sit in the first team meeting, and I'm like, this makes so much sense. Like, it's, you know. And I remember my first game at home at Celtic Park was against Blackburn, I think. And I came on second half, and then I'm playing like a holding midfielder, like in the center circle. And my dad's like, what's going on here? And I was like, I know it looks dangerous, but let me explain. Like, it actually makes sense, you know. But then obviously when you go into the season, you dial it back a little bit, you know. But pre-season for me was all about learning the system, all about raising the standards, because the standards at Celtic are unbelievable. Callum McGregor is probably the best captain I've ever seen. Just drives training, team talks before every game, before the game, halftime, during the week, drives the standard, like jog. He never stops, jogs from one exercise to the other one. And then if he's jogging, you better be jogging. So he just drags the whole club, the whole team, the whole year. And it's just truly amazing. And then
what sort of things is, because famously Celtic, before every game, they'll do a huddle on the pitch.
Yeah.
Like Callum McGregor or the captain will have a bit of a team talk.
Yeah.
What sort of things does he say?
It's just about, we train so hard during the week that we know we have to do. And for the system to work, everybody has to buy in. Because if one of the boys doesn't press, or one of the boys doesn't adjust his positioning, the whole construct kind of fails a little bit. So you get stuck in traps. And he's like, look, we have to do everything what's right. He's expected to win. And he does this in training. So his training team talk will be exactly the same as the game. It's like, lads, we have to be on it. We have to deliver. We have to do this. We have to win. We have to make sure this and that. We don't let up. We never give out. We never give in. It doesn't matter if we're 1-0 down. We have to come back. And it's such a strong, he's mentally so strong that the whole team just gravitates towards him. And if he says something, everybody's like, yeah, we're doing it for you. We're doing it for the club. And he just embodies Celtic and what it is to be a winner. So I was just like, I was just in awe. I was like, this guy is crazy. And I remember the day I signed, he sent me a message, welcome to the team, look forward to getting to know you, look forward to playing with you, competing with you. And you're like, this is the captain who's won 20 trophies already sending you a message. Like, you know, I was 30 at the time or whatever, you know, but it was still a nice moment. And felt like I've gained the respect of the league a little bit with my performances. But then you come to Celtic, and I was like, you start here because you need to gain the respect of the coaching staff and the players, and you have to work your way up. You can't just go in there and go like, I'm here now, so what? No, you go to Celtic, and then the fun and the hard work only just starts for you to push on for the big sort of whole group, what the vision is for the club.
Who are the other big leaders in that changing room?
Obviously Joe, with his experience. When Joe talks, you listen, like his experience, and we would all ask him questions and about that, that frantic day when he won the league with City and all that kind of stuff. And he's seen it all, he's really seen it all. And for me, I remember one of the first games I was captain of Dundee United was against Celtic, and Joe was captain, I was captain, and I just kind of said like, I don't know what I'm doing here, so you just go, I won the coin toss, I gave him that one. And then 2 months later we're in training camp together, and I'm like, this is a little bit weird now, because Joe is for me when I was younger, was the prototype English goalkeeper. Tall, strong, aggressive, can kick it a mile, almost unbeatable on one-on-ones, comes for crosses. So Joe was the prototype for English goalkeeping. So there's a lot. Obviously, Joe is in many ways a role model, and was a role model. So, and even to this day, if I have a question or anything, we'll just speak. And obviously had this experience of being in Italy, and then when I ended up going to Italy, I shot him a text to say, hey, what can I expect? And he will just help anyone, like such a good guy.
So let's talk about Joe Hart. So you've joined Celtic, they've won the league the previous season. It's going to be a difficult challenge to try and overtake Joe Hart as the number one. What's your plan or mindset then going into Celtic, as you went from number one goalkeeper at Dundee to potentially, you don't know, number two, number three, maybe at Celtic. What's the plan?
The plan is just to attack it head on and give it your best shot. Not worrying about making mistakes, because eventually you sort of will when you're playing in a new system, especially with something I'm maybe a little bit uncomfortable with playing with my feet, because previously I just see jersey numbers when you have the ball, and now it's like everybody's asking for the ball, everybody expects you to give them the ball. And you have to be involved in the system of building up. Like I said before, if one of the 11 doesn't do his job, the whole kind of system fails a little bit. So as a goalkeeper, you have an important role of being available to your players and making sure they're right, but also making sure you're part of this system of building up. And then just learn. It's a different way. It was a different way of training, because before, goalkeeping was maybe 45 minutes with the goalkeeper coach and really challenging training, shot stopping and everything. And then went into Celtic, and the most part is possession, playing with your feet. And then the goalkeeping part is maybe half an hour, 15 minutes at times, because the requirements for playing for Celtic is feet first, because you're going to have more of the ball. And then the goalkeeping, not secondarily, but it's not as important. You get it in your games, you get it in your training matches, but you have to be good with your feet. So the training sort of philosophy shifted, which was new for me. I was like, well, this is not necessarily easier. It's more mental now. It's more mental to come into training and making sure the first pass is good straight away. You go into possession games and everything is in small spaces. And so you have to think fast, find your solution, take a touch. So when you then go into the big pitch, everything slows down a little bit. You have more time and you can make the correct decision. So that was a big shift. And then just go and enjoy it. Go and enjoy it. Learn from Joe, learn from Woodsy, learn from the coaching staff, learn from the players, and just grow kind of into your role. I was just go and attack it, have no fear, and give it your best shot.
How did you settle in and perform in those early days then?
Yeah, the first couple of possessions were chaotic. Like it's just
you trying to use your feet.
Yeah, it's not. It's people don't understand. It's not like goalkeepers can't play football, but you for 30 years or for 20 years of a professional career, it's like if in doubt you go long, and the new system is if in doubt to play into pressure, because that's how you get out and go past people. So it's your first instinct has to move away from what you want to do, what you've been asked to do. And I think that's a big shift. But it was the same for the outfield players. You know, in the first year with the new manager playing a certain way.
He's got Greg Taylor coming in the pitch.
Yeah, so Greg Taylor's coming in.
Yeah.
I'm trying to roll the ball to my fullback, and he's not there. And I'm like, where is he? Oh, he's inside, which means my centre back's free. If my centre back's not free, then the number 6 is free. If the number 6 is not free, then you find the 8 because they've moved into the space of the fullback. So you need to understand that. You need to understand where the space is and where the player is going to be. And even then, you're not allowed to go long. So even then, you need to find and manipulate your position that you find the spare man. But it was great. The manager was like, look, do your thing. We believe in you. Keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. You will get it right. And the coaching staff really believed in just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. They will help you. They'll coach you. And obviously eventually played my first game against Ross County away in the cup. And I felt comfortable because I was playing with the starters. I was playing, and I've been doing it for 3-4 months now. And you just go out there and do it. You don't think about it.
Are you a small business or solo entrepreneur who wishes you had more hours in the day? Have you ever thought about hiring a virtual assistant? Well, the Bondi podcast is sponsored by Remote-E. Remote-E specialise in connecting small businesses and entrepreneurs with the best virtual assistant talent in the Philippines to do all those jobs that you don't want to, so you can focus on growing and scaling your business. If this is something you're interested in, the Bondi podcast can get you 2 weeks absolutely free with Remote-E. Just go to the website remote.com.au/contact and enter the referral code Bondi for 2 weeks absolutely free. That's 2 weeks absolutely free. Cheers.
They talk about there's a different kind of pressure on players at Celtic and Rangers. You're in Glasgow, you're in the Goldfish Pool. Yeah. Both teams are expected to win every single game and every single piece of silverware on offer. Did you feel that pressure?
I didn't feel it initially. I knew how big the club was, and it's intimidating when you come as an opposition team and opposition players. And this is really funny. One of my best and worst memories is we played Celtic with Dundee United. It was 0-0. And Abada scored in the 87th minute. And I think they made them go ahead 3 points in the title race. And it was an evening game and the lights went on in the stadium. And I've never seen that before. And I was gutted because I had a really good game. And I'm like, you know what? Show them what you can do, you know. And Abada scored and the lights went on and the whole stadium erupted. And I was like, this is pretty cool. But I can't show it because I've just conceded a goal and I'm playing for Dundee United. I was like, yeah, this place is mad. This is pretty special. And you felt the eruption of emotions, but then you realize this also comes with a lot of pressure. So the boys would have been under enormous pressure to win that game because, you know, they're probably thinking it's Dundee United at home. We want to win the title. 88 minutes, it's 0-0. There is pressure there.
You have no idea how many times, Ben, that season, that I would wake up first thing in the morning and there'd be football on and I'd be checking the score, Celtic 0-0, Celtic 0-0, Celtic 0-0. I'm just hoping that they're going to drop points. Yeah. And then it would be 88 or 89 minutes, Celtic 1-0. Yeah.
But that's the way we've played, that we would try and tire out teams so much that even if nothing went right for 88 minutes, the system would just allow you to have this one breakthrough. And then Kyogo would come up, or Jota, or Giacomakis, or whatever. And it's just an individual brilliance, but within the construct of the whole tactical aspect.
It happened all the time. Those 2 seasons you were at Celtic, it happened all the time. You probably heard the collective sigh from Australia, from other Rangers fans, and we'd be like, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, but the pressure's big, you know, especially if you don't win, even a draw, even away from home, you're better off not going out for dinner that night. You just stay in your house. Yeah. There's many times where,
even though you weren't necessarily playing, Ben, like
I mean, I was never a guy who was like out anyway. Yeah. I didn't feel like I had enough talent to be out drinking every now and then. Of course, if there's something to celebrate, of course you're going for it. You got to switch off at some part of the season, but there's a time for everything. But yeah, like if we didn't win or we didn't play well, it was quiet in the dressing room, and we're like, right, no social media, no, you're staying in. Like, we have to get this right, and everybody knew.
And would that come from McGregor or would that come from Ange?
I came from Callum. He came from Callum. He's like, not good enough. Don't you dare.
Don't go out. No social media.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you ever get it in the street, either from a Celtic fan or a Rangers fan?
Not really. No, not really. I mean, as a Celtic player, if you're doing well and you walk through the streets or you go to a shop or a restaurant, it's a pleasant experience, do you know? And even if you did run into a Rangers fan, there's nothing really they can say because you're top of the league. So, but yeah, sometimes people eye you up a little bit, and all they do is, oh, come on Rangers, and you're like, oh, okay, cool, like,
yeah,
all right, that's the best you can do, like, fair enough. But like, again, like us players, we don't go out in the street and look for things.
No.
So we just go what we need to do and then go back.
Head down, and then you'll occasionally get a little bit. Fair enough. I imagine Callum McGregor, guys like Callum McGregor, it's probably a bit more.
Yeah, but then again, he'll just open up his trophy cabinet and he said, I'm doing just fine.
Fair.
It doesn't matter what you shout at me.
Fair. So let's talk about the appearances then, mate. You said, so two appearances in the League Cup over your 2 seasons at Celtic. Why didn't you play more?
Yeah, so first and second year, obviously very different. First year, obviously, I knew the plan was sort of for me to play in the cup games, in which I did, and then unfortunately,
were you told that going in? Sorry,
you're not guaranteed, but they're like, look, you are going to play if you apply yourself. Obviously, like I said, nothing's guaranteed, but the reason for me was sort of to play in the cup competition, right? And obviously I did play, and then unfortunately in the end of January I got a nasty calf injury.
In your first season?
In my first season, yeah. And because more cup games were coming up, we sort of didn't handle it well. We pushed a little bit too much to come back, and it made it worse, and which was frustrating because I knew, I could be playing in the cup games. Obviously you don't know if you picked or whatever, but kind of felt like the cup games were mine, and then the calf injury that was a 2 to 4 week injury turned into 3 months because we just, I pushed hard, the medical staff pushed hard, and at the time it wasn't the right thing to do, which we found out later. And then for the rest of that year, you're 3 months gone, you have a lot of catching up to do. And then towards the end of the season, the cup final started to come, and I probably wouldn't have played in 5 months. So absolutely understood why I wasn't being picked, and there was never an issue. And going into the next year, obviously the manager
Before we
changed.
go into the next season, Ben, there's one game I wanted to just ask you about.
Yeah.
Because I remember sort of over in Australia, I remember being like, that's quite strange. So it was the end of that first season. Celtic had already won the league. Yeah. I'm not sure whether you were fit or not. You're about to tell me, but it was the Hibs game where Scott Bain.
I wasn't fit. I just couldn't get fit. I could train for 2 days, and then the next day I could hardly walk. It was just we didn't really know what was wrong. It was just I had a standard calf strain, soleus strain, and the tendon just didn't like any sort of loading on the rehab process. So I would train. I would got a full week now, got 2 weeks now, and then all of a sudden I would just wake up and it's just achy, and it just took me till the end of that year to be pain-free again. And obviously you're not going to play somebody who's only trained twice a week.
So the messaging in the media was like, I don't think they knew what was going on, because I remember when Scott Bain got that game against Hibs, and he played a few other games when Joe was either injured or I can't remember if he was injured or suspended, but everyone was saying, why is Siegrist not playing?
Yeah,
but you're injured.
Yeah, I just couldn't get fit. It's one of those things where I could have maybe played in the cup competition, maybe played in a cup final or semi-final, or finally play at Hampden, but it just wasn't meant to be, and it just took me that little bit longer to get pain-free and to really get fit, because you kind of know when you're training that you're not at 100%. And you can't afford to not be at 100% at Celtic. There's no chance. No. The drop-off is way too big, But again, there's outside perception, and there's probably what's happening behind the scenes. And as a player, you're not going to go out and say, "Oh, I'm only not playing because I'm injured." You just get on with that's your job. You get on with it. You overcome, and once you train, once you play, you give it everything you've got.
So sorry, I interrupted you there. Second season.
Yeah, second season. Obviously, the manager changed, and pre-season was me and Joe did 50-50 on all the pre-season games. But having missed so much time the previous season, I still wasn't up to speed with the system, really.
And did Rodgers keep the same system as Ange?
He changed. We changed it slightly, but the principles of football never changed. Like the principle, even you can say a 3 at the back or 4 at the back or 5. The principles of football are always the same. It's just how you manipulate the opposition. So he wanted to play more with a midfield box. So the midfield box would be your 4 players, your 2 midfield players, and the sort of 2 strikers or the 2 centre backs, and you work your box up. Your 4 players always have an overload, and you work up the field to the other half, which took a little bit of time for the team to adjust. It didn't really change that much for the goalkeepers, but the principles of the short passing, to moving the ball, is always the same, stayed the same. And me and Joe did sort of 50-50 all the games, and then we played Bilbao for James Forrest testimonial, and I played in the first half, and I did okay. Didn't do great, didn't do bad. I just did okay. And then I just wanted to kind of have a chat with the manager and kind of say, hey, what are you thinking? Obviously, Joe's going to be playing. Like, what's your plans? And he was like, yeah, you're not really for me. And I said, oh, okay. That's
Brendan Rodgers said
yeah.
that?
And I said,
why? What?
It just said, like, it's just you've not been able to adapt to the system well enough for you to play. And I said, yeah, like, fair enough. Like, I understand. I feel it. It's kind of hard to do when you never play. And in trainings, Joe would get all the reps and I wouldn't get any reps. And I'm like, well, how can I get better if I don't really get the reps, you know? And
was he putting Scott Bain in?
Yeah. And I was like, look, absolutely no problem. Like, this is how football works, you know? And then I said to him, look, can I sort myself out? And he said, yeah, it's you know, speak to your agent and see what we can do. And I had an offer from a team which I was willing to go to, and they said yes initially, and then they changed their mind, and now I was stuck with the transfer window shutting. And again, a lot of people don't get this, so they never see me again, because I'm not involved in matchday squads, because I've been demoted to number 3, which is, it's my job, right? I'm not complaining, but I felt like I needed to play to sort of get my confidence back in my body and everything. And it was, the team was playing European football at the time, and it was a yes, then the next day it was a no, and then this doesn't work and that doesn't work. So you, as a player, you're sort of left in, well, you're not wanted by the manager. Another team wants you. You can go on loan. The financial's not a problem. And you've been told to sit as a number 3 where you could be playing Europa League. So as a player, what do you do? And I said, well, look, this is not ideal, but I have a job. I'm employed. I'm going to do my number 3 or whatever to the best of my abilities till January, and then try again. So did that. January, exactly the same scenario. I had another team going for a league in another country, top division, playing European football. Was on holiday, actually. Everything was agreed. And then found out that Celtic just haven't responded to that team in 4 weeks.
Did you not try and push anything?
I did everything, pushed everything.
So when you're trying to push, what are you doing behind the scenes? Are you
Just
speaking
speaking to the manager.
Stevie?
Just spoke to Stevie, and Stevie's like, yeah, I think in January you can go. And I was like, great. Like, all I ever wanted is to play. Obviously, if it's not happening at Celtic, you come back, you play a good season, whatever happens. And obviously, if you then play for another team, your resale value goes up as well. So it always felt like a win-win for everyone, because I was still on the contract. If they wanted to sell me, I would have higher resale value. If they wanted to keep me all of a sudden, then they have someone who's played half a season and whatever. And then spoke to the new team, spoke to the sporting director, spoke to the goalie coach, spoke to everyone. Was a done deal, was ready to pack up. Then went on holiday because it was the last season. We had a winter break. And then spoke to my agent. I was like, oh, I haven't heard anything. And then just, some people on the Celtic board just didn't respond to any of the inquiries from the other team. And then...
Why not?
It's a good question. Ultimately, Celtic did what is best for them, and they felt like they needed 3 keeper at base, which I understand that. And again, I'm an employee, and I don't want people to understand me wrong. It's not that I want to leave Celtic because Celtic is a bad club or whatever. I wanted to prove myself and find a loan. And when you go into the office and you speak to the manager, and there's no problem. There was never a problem between me and Brendan Rodgers. He was always very respectful, but there were things going on internally that the message I got from the manager was not the same that I got from the board, and that was really frustrating because ultimately all I wanted to do is play, and I was denied that opportunity twice, and it just felt like a lost year because as a number 3, you're just training. And then again, you get the fans like, what is he doing? He must be not good enough. He must be shit. And you're like, well, no, I'm not. I'm training as much or even more than the other ones that are playing. Now I'm getting painted in a bad light because I was meant to be this and that. And I'm in a tricky situations where some of the fans don't like you because you think you're a waste of space. Whereas all I wanted to have is an opportunity to play. I wasn't given one, so I looked for an outside opportunity. And then you're in this thing of, well, half the fans think you're good, you should give it a chance. The other half think you're a waste of space, and your career's on hold. It's really mentally a difficult space to be because physically I felt really fit. I've overcome my calf injury and the hope of playing European football, and then the hope of playing European football again for another team in January was there. And then obviously you have to give your list for Champions League football, and we had a lot of transfers, and it was just not right the way it was handled. So I was denied to go on loan, with the reasoning being we need you for Champions League as you have to have 3 goalkeepers for Champions League. And then when the Champions League list came out, they said, oh, we can't take you in, we have too many foreigners. So it just felt like a kick in the teeth. I just felt a little bit betrayed by that. But again, I did my best, what I needed to do, because I have also an obligation towards my teammates to be the best version of myself.
In training.
Yeah. And I was still celebrating the success with them. I wanted them to do well, and I wanted to support them as best as I can, because you can't be a bad egg. I just don't believe in it. And I tried to be the best professional I could be. And I think people at the end appreciated that it was a hard situation, because your teammates understand.
Yeah.
Your teammates are always understand.
They're seeing it.
Yeah.
They're seeing you like, maybe have a chat with the manager at the side of the pitch at training.
And they're like, oh, fair play, you're in the gym again. Or fair play, you're doing the extra shooting. They understand. But the board sort of didn't understand that it's an absolute privilege to play for Celtic, but when you have the chance to play somewhere else, to accelerate your career or to get some confidence back, that wasn't really something on their mind. So it was difficult. It was difficult.
Do you think you would have been number 2 if Ange had stayed? Was it just Rodgers coming in and not really taking a liking to you?
Don't know. Crystal ball. But I just feel like it could have been handled differently, and sort of just more of an open conversation. If they would have said from the beginning, said, no, you're staying no matter what, then you can set your mind to it, whether you're happy with it or not. If they say, yeah, you can go, and then, no, the manager said no, and then, the board said no, you're constant.
It's kind of that, you're kind of in limbo, kind of all that uncertainty. Yeah. Just how much did that take a mental toll on you?
It was tough. There were days where, I didn't look. I love football. I love goalkeeping, and like I said, I would always pull along with my teammates. I made a point to myself, like, you have to be the best you can be for your teammates. But when you sit at home or you go into a game and you do the warm up and you sit in the stand, you're like, this is hard. This is difficult, because all you want to do is play. How
did you How did you cope? Like, what were your coping
I
strategies
just train more. I
just tried to train your way out of it?
just trying to make myself more, exhaust myself more, so I have less time to think. Go more into the gym. Do a bit of self-reflecting. Speak to some people. Get some advice.
Professionals, like
Yeah. So Joe had a really good guy.
like a sports psychologist.
Yeah, sports
kind of guy?
psychologist, Jamie Edwards, and I spoke to him a couple of times, and they just give you this little bit to make you think about things in a different way. And
So what sort of things would he
just
say?
it's just like you control the controllable. So we've all heard that, but he's like, can you control the manager picking you? And in my mind, I'm like, yes, I can with the way I train. So I always believe that if you put in the work, the manager's going to pick you. And he said, that's not the case, because you're telling me you're training and you're still not getting picked. So I'm like, all right, that's actually the way I'm sort of building this construct in my brain is if you train well, you play, all of a sudden it's not reality. So you start to think that, right, I can control my performance in training. I can control my conduct around the place. I cannot control the starting 11. So then you look at things of, right, I've done what I can do. This is a separate issue. This is something else. So then you realize once you just do the best you can do, that's all you really can do. And there's not more to it. Yes, there are other things that are trying to distract us and everything, but ultimately you have to look in the mirror and say, I've been a good teammate in that second year. I've gotten better. And ultimately we found a solution for me to leave at the end of that year. And it's character building. It made me who I am today. And if I see someone in that situation, I can speak to them and say, hey, I've experienced this. Yeah. And if I'm ever in that situation again, I'll be able to handle it better or straight away in a different way.
So from the outside looking into Celtic, there was another player who I perceived to be in a sort of similar situation to you. And I'm just fascinated by this guy because he signed for Celtic and he was not really seen. So he signed for Celtic, 4-year deal in 2021, James McCarthy.
Yeah.
And so he signed on a 4-year deal in 2021, probably a big money deal.
Yeah.
Didn't play. Like, what was going on with James McCarthy behind the scenes?
I don't know, to be honest.
Did he train?
He trained, and then towards the end of the first year when I was there, he was just training with the either on the side or
the reserves, the B
with the
team.
reserves. I think he got a really nasty injury just before we actually went to Australia. I think he had a really bad hamstring tear. And then the last part of his rehab, I think, was sort of with the reserve team. But yeah, again, it's you as a player, you understand that he's frustrated, but this decision's made, and you just get on with it. You say hello.
Did you ever speak to him about it?
Like? Yeah, you spoke to him, but if somebody tells you you're not part of the plans, there's not really anything to argue. I don't think anybody's ever gone into the office where the manager said you're not part of the plan. It says no, I am. It's not. Nothing's going to change. It's
so did James get told that from Ange or from?
I don't
Brendan?
know. I don't know. I don't want to put anything out. I don't know, to be honest. And obviously there are other players who are closer to Maka than I was, but the Maka I experienced was bright as a button, always up for fun, and was a good guy around the dressing room. And in my 2 years at Celtic, there was not one player who was like a bad egg, because everybody knew not to fall in line, but they also signed players with good character, which is really important. Yeah. But I don't know the backstory.
I certainly never would have thought James McCarthy would have been a bad egg. He's like a diehard Celtic fan, right? Yeah. I just found it really strange because he signed the same day as Joe Hart, and I thought, well, that's actually a couple of good signings there. And as a Rangers fan, I was a little bit worried. I was like, oh, he's a good player. But then he just never turned up. And
it's just football. Sometimes it's just you can't put your finger on it. And as much as you want to analyze, you're better off just getting on with it and kind of not forgetting about it, but you just, like you say, you control what you control, and that's it. And sometimes it just doesn't work out for various reasons. Yeah.
So reflections on your time at Celtic, then, mate. Your first was it your first season? Well, yeah. You win the treble.
Yeah.
You've played 2 games. Yeah. Like, do you feel part of it?
Yes. You you feel part of it because your teammates make you feel part of it. Because, like I said, they understand you work as hard and if not more than them. You see them more than your family. You're all in it together, and the spirit of Celtic is togetherness. The group, with the staff, with the fans, with the millions of people all over the world. I don't think you can go to a corner of the world where people don't know Celtic.
Do you get recognised over here?
I got one really strange one where I was in the hometown of my wife in Port Macquarie at my nephew's like under-7 football tournament, and there was a guy standing there with Celtic coat. I was like, Benji, come over. I was like, I am never heard of Port Macquarie, and and the other day I was in Queenstown in New Zealand, and the guy in the shop was selling the new Celtic shirt, and I kind of popped in, and he was like, "Didn't you?" I was like, "Yeah, long time ago." So yeah, Celtic is global. Celtic is global. Yeah.
Yeah. And your winners' medals? Did you get winners' medals?
Yes,
for that
you
season
get winners' medals. Yeah.
Benji?
Yeah.
Where are they?
Currently they're packed up somewhere because I've moved a lot in the last year. But they were.
And do they mean something to you, Ben, or?
Yeah, they mean something. Obviously, you want to be part of it and play every game and all that kind of stuff. But again, it was a different experience in my career. And although you think you're going into the next chapter and you're going to do as well at the higher league, like I knew my place in the team and I knew I had to find myself, and I had one of the world's best goalkeepers in front of me. So, and probably one of the world's best characters and people, and you realize that it is about the team, and all the problems you have individually cannot be bigger than what the team's trying to achieve. Because if everyone's like that, what do you have? You have nothing. You have 20 individuals looking out for themselves. But when you know you've got 20 teammates going in the same direction, it's such a good feeling, and the multiplication of that feeling gets you a little bit, when you are 1-0 down with 2 minutes to go, that's what gets you the 2-1 win, not the I have to score the goal, I have to do this, it's about me. No, it's always about the team. How do you
look back at your time at Celtic?
I'm disappointed that I felt like I didn't get a fair crack, but I enjoyed every minute. Even though it was hard, I went to the stadium and I was just in awe of the passion of the fans. We would take over away games, home games were always sold out. I think there's a 2-year waiting list on getting a season ticket. Every pre-season tour we went somewhere, and people come up to you, and I think once you are associated with Celtic, you are associated with Celtic for life. And even though maybe I didn't, what people think didn't contribute that much in terms of playing time, they still look at you as a Celtic player, and they're proud that you've played for them. And I'm really proud that I've played for Celtic. And it was a great experience, but like I said, I couldn't control all the parameters and the playing time, and I'm glad I did it. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, and there's not less to it. It was a great experience. It was a proud moment to sign for Celtic. But you represent so many people in the world. It's a really great feeling, and it didn't work out as much or as good as I hoped. But such is life.
If you could have your time again, would you have signed from a football
point of view?
Would you have done something different?
It's a hard question, because a lot of things I've learned at Celtic in terms of how we play in the system help me now.
Okay.
So I wouldn't be the goalkeeper I am now without having gone to Celtic. Would I have probably 100 or 200 more appearances to my name? Yes. And who knows what comes from that. But I remember walking into Genoa, and they kind of eyeing me up, and I'm starting to play passes out from the back, and they're all like, "Oh,
this kid can play."
This kid got a bit, which is funny, because it's something I was told I couldn't do, but now I get a chance to prove it, and I can do it. So that's a bit of satisfaction for me.
Yeah, I'll bet. So after Celtic, mate, the move to Rapid Bucharest in Romania, former Celtic
Yeah.
captain and manager Neil Lennon is managing Rapid Bucharest at the time. So there's always a Celtic connection somewhere. You hear a lot of stories about Neil Lennon, big character. What's he like as a manager?
He's honestly, if you play for his team, you're everything to him. Like he would be very tough on you. He would call you out in training and in games, and then next minute he would put his arm around you. And
so what did he say to you? Like, does anything stand out?
I remember first week. So I've only had sort of 5-6 days of preseason with Celtic. So I'm nowhere. We haven't really done any diving. Celtic went off to America, and I had to stay back for a week, and I just did gym. So I haven't caught a ball. First week of training, he puts me in. I miss a cross by a mile, and she goes, "Fucking Benji." I was like, "Yeah, I know." And then the next day, it's just like, "Just come for it again. If you miss it, I'll call you a prick again." And you're like, "Fair enough. You know where you stand, you know." But he genuinely wants to help. He genuinely wants to coach. It was a difficult gig for him in Romania, as it turned out. I got the phone call from him and said, "Hey, do you want to come play for me? It's a great city. It's a great club with a lot of ambition." And I said, "Yeah, why not? I'll come play for you." Because I've played against him when he was managing Celtic. And I think I've annoyed him a little bit at times. So he knew what he was getting. Excuse me. And I was like, I can play for that guy. No problem.
Yeah, great. Did you ever see him go mad at anyone in training or in the changing room? He famously, done it a few times. You hear a few stories.
I gotta be careful. I'm still employed by Rapid. He went mental once when it was a training session, and there was something said in the media that only could have come from somebody who was in the building.
Right. Okay.
And he made the boys run, and I'm like, we trained for like 2 hours, and he was like, "Right, suicide runs." And he lost it.
What was he saying?
He was just like, "One of you's ratted me out, blah, blah, blah." Because something happened in training which was taken out of context. And then in Romania, the media is very, very tricky. A little bit trickier than even Scotland and the UK. And it was all just a big misunderstanding. And he sort of punished us for something that allegedly happened. And he just made us run, and the next day he came in and he was good as gold. That's just him, you know.
How did because Neil Lennon's quite old school, right? He came up under Martin O'Neill at Celtic, old school manager. How did that sort of management style translate to Romania and Rapid Bucharest?
So what sort of Rapid needed at the time was somebody who would take control of all the distracting factors. So there was a lot of, like, the media would always sort of make up fake stories, because there are really 3 teams, right? There's Steaua, there's Dynamo, and there's Rapid Bucharest. So in one city, 3 teams, we all hate each other. And Steaua have been successful, and Rapid is this giant who was sleeping, has a lot of potential, and they needed someone who reign a little bit with an iron fist to say, right, there's certain things you can do and certain things you can't do. And Neil Lennon was one who understood that, you can have success on the pitch, but also have a good time outside of the pitch. And there were certain rules that we needed to follow in terms of, pre-match preparation, getting the right foods in, getting the right sleep in, going to hotel before the game, obviously the partying stuff, the drinking stuff, and he cut all that out, which I loved, because you want to be somewhere successful and professional, and at the time they were lacking that sort of professionalism, and he came in and changed things, and unfortunately the results didn't go his way. When I signed, they played 4 games, 3 draws, 1 win, and then we couldn't win a game at home, and the home crowd can be quite hostile. And I played 2 games. The first one was away game, and we drew 1 each. They scored a penalty, and the next game was a derby against Dynamo, and we drew 1 each. Again, first 4 games I played for Rapid, it was 4 penalties, so I could have had 4 more clean sheets. And then the next game, unfortunately, the boss's mother passed away, so he missed 1 game, and it was hard for him. And then he came back, and then the board thought like, this is not working. We're gonna end it here and get a Romanian coach in, which was interesting. And I really felt sorry for him. And there were 1 or 2 players that signed just because of him, mainly me. And I wanted to help him. He wanted to help me, and it was a shame we didn't get to finish in a proper way, because I always thought we could have turned it around. It was just so much distraction off the field that killed him a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And then the loan spell to Italy, mate.
Yeah.
How did that go?
Which story do you want?
Mate, hit me up.
Yeah, so played all the games. I had a really good sort of, I think it was like 15 games, had 4 or 5 clean sheets in a row. Then winter break came and I missed the last game before the winter break. I was injured and it was like, just start again January, like don't worry about it. It was against bottom team, and knowing me, I was like, no, I want to play, and they're like, no, you can't play. Like we're gonna put the other one in. No problem. Started training camp, everything was going well, and then I started to feel like something's going on with the coach, and I publicly questioned the professionalism of the team.
Genoa?
No, of Rapid.
Oh, of Rapid.
Yeah, and kind of said like, the club's talking about winning things, but we're not really doing the right things to win things. So there was.
What do you mean by that? Like, what was happening?
Yeah, I have to be careful. I'm still employed. I didn't feel the lifestyle off the field. Everybody would go by the rules, and I didn't think. Us the players weren't doing the best to be successful, and it was really hard for me because I came from a place of Celtic where
the standards are so
only the
high.
best is just about good enough. Like only the best is just about good enough, and all the players knew how to behave, and all the players knew what it took to prepare to win something. And the club Rapid, we were talking about winning the cup and winning the league, and they have this playout format at the end of the season to get into the playoffs, and then your points get halved, and then you play all the top 6 teams, and then at the end you get a winner. And it was difficult to be sort of the only one driving the standards, because I tried to take over what I've learned from Celtic and maybe from Callum a little bit to say, hey guys, we have to, like we haven't won at home, we're supposed to be top 4, we're sitting at 8, we'll be sitting at 6, this is not good enough, we want more, we demand more, the board demanded more, the owner demanded more, and then just turn up in training and it would be like, mate, you've slept 2 hours, like what are you doing? Like, or sometimes we go to training and the coach was like, I feel tired today. And
the coach would say, I'm still tired today.
Like, I'm tired today, I want to train in the afternoon and I want to sleep in. And I'm like...
This is the coach that they appointed after Neil Lennon?
Yeah. And I was like, coach, you're supposed to set the standard here. You're supposed to drive us. And you're like, oh, I'm tired, I want to do this. I remember I walked into a game and we played Cluj, and they were playing really good football. And I just walked into the team meeting, and the coach goes, "Guys, I don't know what we do today." Like, what? It's like, I don't know what system to play. Don't know. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like,
it's your job.
Yeah, tell us what to do. We'll do it. We'll try and do it to the best we can. Yeah, they might be a little bit better than us, but doesn't mean anything. Like, doesn't matter who we play. We will try and win.
We'll put a plan in place.
Yeah, give us a plan, and we'll at least try and do the plan, And he was like, I don't know. They're very good. They're very good. And I'm like, fuck this. Like, and then so I was obviously a little bit unhappy, and then speaking with my agent and had a good conversation with the owner of Rapid, who owns Genoa, and I said, look, we need to find a solution. I want to be at the highest level. I want to push myself. I've had good 5 months or good, I don't know, like 15, 16 games. People taking notice. We need to find a solution. I wanna push on. And he said, yeah, you're on the radar of Genoa. Like, regardless of me buying the team, you were on their radar, on their radar, and there might be an opening in January. And I said, yeah, I want to go. And then he said, okay, we fly tomorrow at 8:00. We take my private jet. I'm going over anyway, and you get one bag, 20 kilograms, and you're going. I I was like, all right, okay, cool. Told my agent, and he's like, cool, go.
So Genoa Serie A team,
Serie
playing
A
in Italy.
team.
Wow.
Patrick Vieira is the manager.
Patrick Vieira is the manager.
Patrick Vieira is the manager.
What's he like, man?
Unbelievable guy. Like, tall, like as tall as me. A nice gentleman, great coach, great knowledge of the game, man manager, has a great staff as well, some Spanish influence, English guy, and then the Italian goalie coaches, which was so interesting. Like, I thought I was working hard like in the UK, but wow, the Italian goalie coaches, they kill you from Monday till Thursday. Like, they proper kill you. New school of goalkeeping for me, like different philosophies, like not hyper aggressive, more like on the line and defend your line in terms of like shot stopping and angles, and very athletic based, a lot of squats early in the week, plus then a 90-minute session, and then tactically, like straight away the goalkeeper is involved so much in the tactical build up, and that's when my training at Celtic came in, whereas I remember I played the last game. I played 2 games at the end of the season, and the last game against Bologna, half-time, he goes, just pass it to Ben, he'll find you. And I'm like...
Patrick Vieira said that? One of the best
centre
midfielders
Bologna
of all time.
Yeah, so because they were pressing really high, and then it was up to us to find the spare man, but they left me as the spare man. And then, so it's up to me to make the decision where to go. And with him, I'm allowed to go long because we have a big striker. And he figured out that they were pressing the centre backs and midfielders, but they weren't pressing me. And he said, I'll just take the ball and walk out.
So you had time.
I got time on the ball. And then as soon as the opposition moves out, you find the guy in behind. And he just goes like, just give him the ball, he'll find you. And I was like, Patrick Vieira just told the backup keeper he play midfield. But again, I walked into there, and then all of a sudden I'm playing in midfield, I'm passing the ball and we're popping it, and all my teammates in Italy going, where do we get this guy from? This guy can actually play, Yeah. And like I said before, it was a nice feeling to know that I've learned something, and also I've done something that people said I couldn't do.
What's your relationship with Vieira like?
He's just comes to you every day, asks if everything is okay. Is everything okay off the field? I remember I had a Zoom call with him just prior to signing, and he's like, what are you going to bring to the team? And I just said, like, look, are you just going to get energy from me? You're going to get someone who's passionate about playing and being a goalkeeper, but I've proven to be a number 2 and proven to be there for the team, and this is exactly what I did in the last 6 months, and was ready when called upon, and got my first start against Napoli.
So you've played against Napoli and Bologna, two of the most succtomal teams.
Yeah. So Napoli were going for the title. It was 3 games for the end of the season, so they needed to win. And
McTominay and Gilmore.
Gilmore, Lukaku, and Raspadori, and all them. And coach goes like, "You're playing against Napoli," and I'm like, "You could have given me like Monza at home, like." Obviously, Napoli, the famous stadium.
Napoli away?
Away, yeah. It was my first start, and I was like, cool.
What was it like playing in that stadium?
I was so excited. I was like, cool, let's go for it.
Up there with Celtic Park, better?
Different, because the stands at Celtic Park are closed. The stands in Napoli are so far away because you've got this old school running track, and then the drop down. So it's the atmosphere doesn't transfer as much onto the pitch, and then they scored after 15 minutes, and then it really came, and then they scored again, and then we equalized in the last 5 minutes to make it 2-2, and they needed to win, so the stadium was like quite quiet. We kind of shut up the stadium a little bit, and I had a good game, made some good saves, and I normally get a little bit nervous before every game. Doesn't matter, like I need a little bit of, not nervous, but I needed some butterflies, and we're driving to the stadium and nothing. I'm just sitting on the bus and I'm like, I feel nothing. And I didn't know what to do with that feeling, because I always, doesn't matter, we have a friendly game, I need a little bit of butterflies. And I said, shit, I have nothing, like this is not a good sign. Going to the stadium, did the warm-up, still nothing. Played the game, still nothing. and obviously played well. And then I was like, that is so weird because I normally get a little bit of butterflies. And then 2 weeks later, I played against Bologna, and it was back. The butterflies were back. And at the time, I didn't know what to do with my feelings. You know, I didn't know why I wasn't excited, why my body didn't feel any nerves. But it was just because I felt so comfortable, and I knew the coach trusted me. Like even the tactical part is like, just go and play. I don't want you to kick long. Just go and play. If they press, just play. Like, it doesn't matter. And you have as a player, if you know the coach believes in you, seen you train for like 3-4 months, and then says, "Hey, you're playing against Napoli away," kind of means he likes you a little bit, you know.
And how did you go against Bologna?
We won 3-1, and they told me that they didn't tell me, but they told the third choice goalkeeper, like, you're gonna play some minutes. So we knew whoever was gonna start was gonna come off after 60-70 minutes, because the gaffer is quite good like that. He gives everybody game time, and obviously the third choice again trains as much as anyone else. And that was him saying, "Hey, 20 minutes at the end," and I came off after 62 minutes. We were winning 3-0, and just having the time of my life, just playing football in Bologna. The stadium's amazing, like old school stadium with like a little tower in the middle with a big clock.
And was Lewis Ferguson playing captain?
Yeah. I spoke to him before the game. I said, that is different than Aberdeen versus Dundee United.
Did you play against Lewis when he was at...
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
So, yeah. And they had a couple of Swiss boys as well, Doy and Abisher, so I spoke with them a little bit. And Freuler, and they just came off winning the Coppa Italia.
Yeah, they were probably hungover, mate.
Yeah, they gave it a good go. But we were just good on that day. And then, I just remember playing into the striker, playing into the fullback, and everything was working. And it was just because I was so comfortable with being with the team and knowing what he wanted me to do, and having sort of developed all that, because I haven't played in 4 or 5 months, and then he says, go play against Napoli and Bologna. You know, it wasn't easy, but I was just ready for it.
Amazing, mate. So what's the plan for next season? It's obviously pre-season time at the minute in Europe. Like, what's the plan?
So I would like to go back to Genoa. They would like to have me back. Obviously, I'm still employed by Rapid, so there's conversations to be had. But we're not quite there yet. But I would really love to go back to Genoa for another year, and the club wants to push for European football, which is very much possible. Because last year they had a bad start and were bottom of the league, and then Vieira took over and we ended up 13th and safe with 5 games to go, which was a huge achievement. Again, a city has 2 teams, Sampdoria and Genoa. I don't know what's happening with them. They were Serie B, they got relegated to Serie C, which is the 3rd division, which was a big scandal. And now a team in Serie B can't pay the wages, so they're going back up. Like, I just know that
Italian football.
I just know we share the same stadium, so we play in the same stadium. I just know that our fans had a great time when they heard Sampdoria's getting relegated. So so it's nothing's decided yet, but they want me back. I want to go back, and obviously want to try and play as much as I can, try and push for number 1. And again, multiple competitions there, the league, the cup and everything. And obviously, hopefully try and get some more appearances to my name.
Nice, mate. Well, mate, we'll leave it there for today. Thank you so much for coming in for a chat, mate. I really enjoyed it. We're going to be keeping an eye on how things go for you next season, mate. Thank you, brother.
Thanks, Chris.
Cheers, mate.
Thank
Cheers.
You.